Welcome to today's Research Business Daily Report for details of how market research is central to why one fitness tracker is suing another, and then how market research is fitting for some young people who've been looking for a summer internship. Finally, the threat posed by legal ambulance chasers who've been targeting mobile researchers. We are sponsored today and this week by Nuance, offering multi-language verbatim coding services to help its clients quantify the meaning of open-ended answers. Nuance, a decision analyst company. Jawbone announced late last week that it is suing Fitbit and as many as 15 former Jawbone employees who've joined Fitbit. They are alleged to have shared with their new employer trade secrets, business plans, and market research. The legal filing says the Fitbit employees, 5 for certain, and perhaps 10 others who are not yet identified, provided Fitbit with market research plans and information about headsets, fitness trackers, and audio devices. Fitbit is requesting financial damages and a court-ordered halt to sharing of any of its information. Next, has research become a new and important component for youngsters in search of a summer internship? Ann Fisher answers career questions on Fortune.com, and one came in during May from a disappointed junior and business major who said she'd been turned down for 4 summer internships this year alone. Fisher's counsel led her to ask the advice of Burning Glass Technologies CEO Matt Siegelman. He noted the fact that 18% of college students are business majors these days, but only 8% of the internships that are out there are looking for those kind of students. Siegelman claimed the difference maker in being selected for one of these summer job offers is a, quote, hands-on knowledge of social media strategy, event planning experience, market research savvy, or a combination of the three, end of quote. And in fact, because a lot of marketing now is about understanding and interpreting huge amounts of customer data, Siegelman advised students to try to leapfrog over this problem next year by signing up for data analytics courses and statistics courses before they pursue a summer 2016 internship. And then a few weeks ago, Precision Opinion President Jim Medick shared with RBDR what I thought was a startling problem about his mobile research work. It would actually be funny if it didn't have such severe financial implications. And by the way, its origins date back to 1991, which in and of itself is an interesting angle to this. Jim pointed it all out. What is TCPA and what is going on?
It's an act that was passed in 1991. It's called the Telephone Consumers Protection Act. And it was originally designed in order to stop telemarketers from using predictive dialers and to have, if we all remember back in the 1990s, all the faxes that used to come in offering everything from quick loans to vacations. They wanted to stop that. That was the original purpose of the law.
But it has seeped into what we do today, notably with wireless phones. How and why is that?
Well, what happened is in the law, it was, and as we know back then, the wireless wasn't a big deal. They've said you cannot call a wireless telephone, using a predictive dialer.
Oh, okay.
So none of us really called wireless phones back in the day. Now, 50 to 80% of our phone calls are made to wireless phones, and we've set a complete system up of predictive dialers in order to handle this.
Okay.
Now what the law requires is we can't dial landlines, we dial landlines with a predictive dialer. If it's a wireless, it must be outside of a predictive dialer.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. And what's the fine or the penalty if you're found guilty of this?
Right off the cuff, it's $500 per attempted call. So let's say I call your wireless phone and I call it 3 times, I get you on the 4th time, I now have 4 times $500 is what I'm going to be fined.
Okay.
That's the minimum charge.
Who's going after you for this stuff? The government?
No, actually, it's the law firms. So it has changed where we have some small companies, cottage industries that do nothing. It's almost like ambulance chasers. They actually have people who wait to be called on a cell phone, using a predictive dialer. Then you have the bigger firms that also have the same thing out, and they really come after you wholeheartedly, and they actually come in with a class action suit so that they can actually come back and look at all your records since 1991.
Oh, really? So they can request your records and go looking back at them?
Yeah, they can demand them in discovery and come back and settle this, yes.
Huh. What's going on in the research industry as a response to this?
The only way research industries can protect themselves is they have to be able to take this sample, and before they do any dialing, they need to run it through a service. And there's a service called Newstar out there, which is the government approved service. So they know which numbers are landlines, which ones are cell phones, and which ones have recently been ported. So somebody has changed their landline, I kept the number and moved it to a wireless phone. And so you run it through that. Now, the issue that people have is, it may mess up the methodology and sampling, so they're best to take numbers and they might have to rerun a sample in order to make it fit, because you might be throwing out landlines and cell phones differently.
Huh. Okay. Have you been sued?
Yes, I have, twice.
Twice?
Twice.
And the first one was introduced to you when?
The first one was last year, came in, and we were calling from a voter list. So it was during an election cycle. We had called a phone number that was not identified as either wireless or cell phone. It was from a voters list. And interestingly enough, the number had just been ported from a landline to a cell phone. So not only did we not run it through our system, the number had automatically changed. And it happened to be a disbarred attorney who we called, who does this for a living. So
you got nailed for one phone call?
One phone call to this attorney, for a disbarred attorney, yes.
But if I heard your text properly, you had already been running all of your telephone numbers through this approved service.
Well, before we were allowing clients to say, no, this is a good list, we're okay. But at the end of the day, we're the ones who's liable, not the clients. So we ran this voter list. We did not run the voter list through the sample. If we would have known within a 10-day period, we would have known that it was already been ported over. But it was just a perfect storm. The number was just ported, and this attorney was now doing this for a living.
Okay, now you were obviously aware of this, but I'm guessing, because I know the way you can be pretty active, that you've probably talked to CASRO, to MRA, to all the associations in our industry. What's going on with them about this?
There is zero support and zero help, because the law is so tight. The law simply says that you cannot call a wireless on a predictive dialer, and you must hand dial all the numbers in there and have a live agent. And there is no support. There's no activity going to Congress or any other government affairs committee to try to get this law changed. The second one, we did run the protocol absolutely perfectly. And so we were able to quickly identify that we called it, yes, it was a wireless phone, but yes, we called it in the proper protocol of hand dialing it from the TCPA. So the lawsuit was quickly dropped because they knew they couldn't do anything on me.
Okay. But here's a question that I can't imagine. How does an attorney find out that you have made any calls, 1 or 1,000, that might be in violation? How do they get your information?
Well, they can get it through the discovery phase. So first thing they do is if you look at go on the line and say TCPA attorneys, a list pops up. There's an association of them now. So they're throughout the United States. So you can find those who defend us and those who prosecute us. So they're out there quite heavily. So you as an individual could go to that attorney, say, I've been called, and why don't we do a class action suit? They file it, and then in discovery, you have to turn over all your phone records.
How much more is it costing you to not just separate your mobile numbers from your landlines, but also then to hand and manually call those mobile phones, which is still legal, right?
Yes, it is. That's absolutely legal. The actual process is less than a half a cent per record to run through. So it's a very inexpensive thing. And even a large sample, let's say 500,000 phone numbers run through this, takes less than 15 minutes. So the time is not a big deal. The money is not a big deal compared to what you would have to pay for an attorney to do. And then you can still put it into your system as you would anything else, and it's just flagged. So when it comes up, you know you need to hand dial this. And wireless telephone, to call a wireless phone, it usually takes twice the amount of time it takes to do a landline phone.
So you're just absorbing that cost, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, no, with the sample costs, we're actually passing that on to clients. We will not run a project now unless we've been able to run it through a government-approved protocol here.
Thank you for your attempted clarion call to the industry to wake people up. And I'm sure that when this airs that you're going to get some feedback from some of them. Jim, thanks very much for your time.
No, thanks, Bob. Have a great day.
That's your Research Business Daily Report. We've been sponsored by Nuance, offering multi-language verbatim coding services to help companies quantify the meaning of open-ended answers. Nuance, a decision analyst company, is helping us help you if you'd like to find out more about Nuance, which a lot of our viewers have been doing. We've even created a link for you. It is www.nuancecoding.com. Check it out, and I think you'll find a lot of valuable information about a terrific service. We hope you have a great research day, and we also hope that we'll see you back here tomorrow.